So is there anything else you guys want to tell people before we break?
Theater 37 Talks.
Should
we introduce that?
Yes. Okay, so as part of Theater 37, there are lots of different productions and artistic things that you guys are going to be doing.
Yes.
Prophecy is the first,
Mm-hmm.
which we talked a little bit about, and then maybe the second thing you're producing are the theater talks.
Mm-hmm.
And what are those?
Not me.
All right.
No?
So
What are theater talks?
we had the idea to sort of put together an online talk show and a place for us to have these discussions very similarly to what we've done today, because we realized in our creative process, coming from the very diverse backgrounds that we come from, we have a lot of different opinions on some very important topics.
Yeah.
And as we were talking with each other, we just had this overwhelming sense that we need to share this. So that's kind of where that came from. So we'll be sitting down periodically, talking about different topics to do with art and the industry, but also life and love and, you know, things that affect us as women and, you know, healing and spirituality and how those components show up in our art. And so I'm very excited about that too.
It's funny because for me it was just like, it was another thing that was always on my mind, that like I want to have a talk show. Was no like,
I've been narrating my mundane tasks in my head since I was 8 years old.
yeah, for me it was just always a vision that like I want to have a talk show, like that's it.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how it manifests into reality. And
Yes.
Me too.
We just have a lot to say.
Yeah.
And I think it's starting to shift. All of us are coaches. And so there's a lot of insight and wisdom that comes from that, and a lot of conversations that we get to have in very sacred spaces with people one-on-one. And I think we all have the urge to make that reach and that audience broader and to move into motivational speaking, and how can we just speak with more people. And that's kind of where the talks came from.
I think for me it was more about how special I feel when, well, similar to what Jenna's saying, but more explicitly, I guess. I've always felt very unique whenever I'm teaching, especially coaching things under, you know, extenuous circumstances like extreme competitive scenarios, right? Where people really care and devote themselves. And I would always find myself talking to them, coaching them, not always it being mechanical or dance related specifically, but rather helping them explore their humanity and who they are and how they can be better versions of themselves and show up for themselves when it counts most. And those moments, as significant as they are, while they're being introduced within that environment for those people and myself, it was Anastasiya that said, "You need to record these."
Yes.
And in that moment I said, wow, how many people would benefit from hearing this? How many of us go through this regardless of the modality? And you know, like, this is a terrible thing to say, but it would almost feel like it's not that it's being wasted, but there's, you know,
you
so
can do
much
more with it.
Yeah,
Right.
so much beauty was happening in those intimate settings that for me this would be an opportunity to explore all of that on a much bigger scale, so it's not intimate anymore, so it can still be real and vulnerable and important, but not necessarily have the need to have a specific goal to get that side of you, right? Because that's the sadness for me, that those moments exist only when the pressure's on. You know, you only explore that side of yourself only when there's something huge happening. This is that almost subconsciously tells you, hey, things have to be dramatic for you to be interesting. You know, and that you know, that's so much a part of who I've been that I don't want to be anymore, because then I realize that I'm showing up as that person in all of my friendships, right? That I always have to have this dramatic thing to offer, otherwise I'm not interesting, right?
Yeah.
Or that you as a human being need some kind of goal that's literally this important for you to learn things about yourself.
Right.
You know, so for me, the talks is an opportunity for all of us to sort of get there
Yeah.
together,
Yes.
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
there and not need life or death
Yeah,
situations
or permission.
or permission.
And I feel that as well, that there's something that's happened in the last year, in the last couple months, even like there's this energetic shift that's happened that's caused us all to come to this place where we're brave enough to be vulnerable enough to tell the truth, to tell our truths and tell them together and discuss them and make it public and make it visible. And there's something very healing and very powerful in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Look at me like that.
Well, I'm very excited for the talk. And I think also you touched on something in the very beginning, but you guys don't necessarily agree on everything. And so I think that that's a really beautiful thing to come together and have those discussions so openly and like open yourselves up to all of that.
And being okay with not agreeing with each other.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the huge problem that like the society has period that like we need to stay in peace, so we need to agree about everything. But like no, I don't need to agree with you to stay in peace with you.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can have your own
Right.
opinion and beliefs, and I can have my own, and we can still be fine with each other.
Right.
And it makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it allows for so much growth and learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's not a competitive thing.
Yeah.
And it's not a, you know, that's why we're okay disagreeing with each other. But, you know, again, we've been privileged.
Mhm.
Like at the end of the day, we've been privileged that we were open-minded enough,
Yeah.
that we were, you know, put in this position where we got to learn and lead simultaneously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's this privilege that I think I want to share with
Mhm.
everyone. This, hey, I've been through all this, and you don't have to go through all of it to learn what I know here. Take it.
Yeah.
Take it, because you don't have to go through pain and suffering and extreme circumstances to be a better version of you. So
Mhm.
just here are the lessons.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories sitting here that
Mhm.
need to be told.
I told mine in processes, so the rest is on
But
you.
there's more than that.
There's more.
There's only one
There's
part of the
more.
story.
There's more. That's just a piece.
Yeah.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
So I get to write more?
Of course.
Of course.
Okay.
We require you to write more, to keep writing.
Anything else, ladies, you want to talk about?
You know, my first book report was to write about someone you admire, and mind you, I'm 8 or something, or when did I come to this country? 9 or 10 or something, and I did it on Madonna. Duh. And when I was researching her, I remember what stood out the most to me was she said, I didn't become a singer because I thought I had a particularly good voice. I became a singer because I had something to say. Right?
Yeah.
And it took me, I guess, the next 20-something years to be able to, with confidence, make the same statement. And from now on, this is why I create art. And I don't really care to be the best dancer or the best choreographer or the best coach or the best writer or the best actress. I just know I have something to say.
Like,
Thank you, Madonna.